case anybody can attend, then we can at least send them this recording. Yay! All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jamie Crispin. I'm a senior portfolio manager for Missouri and a wonderful portion of Iowa. I'm the staff member who helped facilitate what we're calling is the Director Pairs program. Some of you might be a Director Triad program, and just wanted to, appreciate everybody joining us today. Thank you for your willingness to either be mentored as somebody who is new, or thank you to anybody who is saying that they would love to mentor as an experienced director. Obviously, this program wouldn't exist unless we had both sides. And here in the North Central region, we love to informally facilitate this. We know that many of you are experts in the field. And we know you use all of us as wonderful resources here at AmeriCorps, but sometimes the best kind of teaching goes from peer to peers. And so I can't thank each of you enough for your willingness to participate in this program, to be open, to be vulnerable, and to share your best practices with one another. So thank you so much for your involvement. Today, we are just going to generally be talking about the Director's Pair program. I have today scheduled for an hour. It will not take 1 hour. It'll probably take a little bit more, like 30 minutes. I will happily take any questions. My colleague Tiffany is monitoring the chat. You can raise your hand. So as I move throughout, I'll stop for questions, but please know that, you can answer off mute, or you can throw it in the chat and we'll field them. Today, again, we'll just talk about generally the Director's Pair program. We have some suggestions on topics and some resources that we're willing to share, although you can really facilitate this relationship however you want. And then we'll end with just reminding you all about next steps. So we will get started. So the Director Pairs program, and I have some statistics that I'll share, came out of the North Central region where we realized that now we have 8 states that are kind of clustered together. And wouldn't it be wonderful if somebody from rural Wisconsin was paired up with somebody from rural Kansas to kind of share ideas? And so we kind of have been facilitating this. It really is about building connections and hopefully to increase your network. We really think that there's some benefit to each of you sharing new ideas. We know that each community and county is different. However, there's always enough of an overlap, or there's, some similarities no matter where you go. And so we're hoping that maybe there's some innovative or novel ideas that you can take to apply in your county with your program. And of course, the last couple of years, none of us have been immune to problems. And so we hope that through this relationship that the conversation could turn to how you can problem solve, or what are some, different ways to see the issue and to step outside of the box and maybe try something new. So the Director's Pairs program is not a large commitment. We ask that if you were in this program that you would at least have 3 meetings. The meetings can be by phone. They could be by camera through computer, if that's, whatever makes the most sense. We would say at least 30 minutes, but I have a feeling your conversations might go a little bit longer. And, we want to make sure that you can use your peers. Just know that, if there are things that need to be tweaked with the grant, that you're still looping in your assigned portfolio manager, just so that they're in the know, or they could make sure that you're following all the grant requirements and regulations. So again, use this program for however you want. I'll skip here and then I'll stop for a second. So we started this in fiscal year 2021. We had 26 folks. Then we did it last year. We had 36, and then we're opening it again, and we have 35 participants. Just for those of you who are interested, we have just the breakdown of the programs here. You see, we have a lot of RSVPs. And then happy to have an STP. I think I saw Cameron on here from Iowa there. Yes, so excited about that. And then if you'll see, we have a lot more new FGP directors than there were experienced FGP. So there are a few FGP directors who have a triad. And if you were an experienced director, you should have seen those two names. If you have any questions, I would have reached out and asked, are you okay having a second person before I assigned you? So you should be in the know, but just so you know, you may be a part of a triad if you're in the FGP realm, just because we wanted to make sure that we were able to fulfill everybody's hope to be part of this and appreciate any of those directors who were willing to take that on. If you're working in a triad, I love the idea of group coaching. Love the idea of you meeting and all three of you meeting together. However, I would just, you three connect on what makes the most sense. And especially for the experienced director, what makes the most sense for you and your schedule. One of the other things that we tried to do is obviously we tried to pair you by program when we could. We also tried to make sure that you did not have somebody from your own state. We just assumed you probably know the people in your state a lot more. And so we tried to cross state borders. And again, that was just for the networking. So you'll see there that you might be paired with somebody in a completely different state. And that was the point. But it was really great to, see names and try to match people. Other than that, I had no other factors, I tried my best to pair people. So just know that I was the one doing the pairing, and it was more important that I matched you with someone from your program or from a different state. Everything else was just, organic. So just wanted to say that. Okay, I'll stop there. I am curious if I saw some names from 21, 22, and 23. So I want to appreciate some of you folks who've been a mentor this whole time. Has any experienced director participated before and wanted to say anything about their time or give any suggestions to folks who were ramping up this year to participate? Anybody who's done this before want us to talk about their experience or give any best practices to those new folks who will be joining? No, and that's okay. All right. Well, don't worry about it. I know you all will be very chatty in your pairs and triads, which I think is definitely the point. So yeah, I thought Liz, that you did it last year. I remember your name, and they connected every other month. And I think that is absolutely however you want to do it. I think there were some folks who did every 2 weeks for a bit, some folks who did every month. So I think just make this what you want based on your schedule. Perfect. Okay. So that's a little bit about where we've been, why we're doing this. The other thing I'll say is you should have received an email saying who you're paired with. If you did not, please mention something in the chat. My colleague Tiffany will make note, and we'll just be sure that we send that out to you. You saw we had 35 people, so we just wanted to make sure we got everything right. And if we overlooked something, I'm sure that's on us, and we'd be happy to close the loop. So if you do not know who your person is, please let us know in the chat. So again, the goal is that you have 3 meetings. In the past, we here at North Central and AmeriCorps, we do not care what you talk about. We know that you're probably going to fill the time. But for some folks, when you're new, you're not sure what you don't know. I don't know if anybody feels me on that. And they might not know what to ask. And so we thought as North Central, what we might do is we have a 1-page document, 2 sides. The first page is just some potential topics. So if you are a new director, we're going to ask that you identify some things you want to talk about in each meeting. Okay. So as the new director, you could look at the suggested topics and say, okay, I'm going to talk, I really need to know about recognition. I'm supposed to do something in fall. I haven't done it. I'm going to ask the experienced director that. Or you could decide, you just really want to understand how they do orientation. If you're in the stipend program, how does your orientation run? What are your topics? So again, if you are the new director, you will have the suggested topics and you will want to pick a couple topics for each call. You're welcome to let the experienced director know in advance if that matters to your experienced director. If it does not matter, then, you can just come to the call and you all can have an easy breezy talk. The other thing that we'll send this out on Thursday afternoon, the other side of the document that we created is a list of resources. We know you probably have all of this somewhere, but we wanted to make sure that everyone had access to the handbooks. A lot of times terms and conditions tell you what needs to be in your grant or tells you why certain things are in your grant. And then we have some miscellaneous stuff that we think might be helpful to have as documentation when questions come up. If you're in the stipend program, there's always a lot of questions about income guidelines or national service criminal history checks. And then also too, many of you have probably heard us talk about the uniform monitoring packet, UMP. That's what monitoring uses to come and review your program. And some of you may or may not have seen this, and I think it is probably the best resource, the AmeriCorps Seniors Project Roadmap. It lives in Litmos. Hopefully all of you have a Litmos account. It's where all of our on-demand trainings are. But the project roadmap gives you about a 12-month, breaks out 1 year of a new director's time and gives projected topics or categories along with links. So I think it can be very useful in conversations, especially if you think, goodness, I don't really need to know about advisory boards. I kind of feel like mine is rocking. What I really need to know about is recruitment. You can use this project roadmap to help guide you, and it just puts you in the right place. We will again send this document with the topics and the resources in an email on Thursday, but you'll just have to get a Litmos account to access the project roadmap if you haven't seen it before. So, okay, so there's some great resources. Let me stop there. Are there questions or anything that's bubbled up since we've been walking through this? Yvonne, we'll happily email you in a little bit as soon as we get done. And I'll say, what was the other thing? Yeah, no questions. It's easy breezy. I will say we offered this orientation today and Thursday. So that's why when we wrap up the last orientation on Thursday, we'll send out the PowerPoint slides, the resource document, so that you can get started in the recording. Some of you may or may not see your pair's name on this call. If you don't, it's because they're probably going to the Thursday one. We thought it was better just to offer options in orientation than to ensure that all pairs could be on for the same call. So you'll get the same information just in 2 different sections. So what are the next steps? We're asking if the experienced director could reach out to their new director. We'd like the experienced director to maybe talk about how often or when they'd like to meet based on the experienced director's schedule. Like maybe you might say, I'd love to meet, monthly, could you do Tuesday afternoons or Thursday afternoons? So experienced director, kick it off. The new director, again, like I said, we would like you to have some ideas to talk about during your meetings. And it doesn't have to be super detailed. You might just want to have a direction on where you want the conversation to go, as it will help your experienced director. Again, you don't have to use our resources. So if there's something urgent that you're dealing with, then use your experienced director, because, they've probably been there, done that, or know somebody who's had to do that. And so they're happy to connect with you. And then as soon as you're done with orientation, you are welcome to start, having your mentoring conversations. You don't necessarily, like I said, Thursday will be the second orientation. We'll send out resources. So this week or next week, we're hoping the experienced directors can reach out to get the ball rolling, to get something kind of on the calendar. And then just to let you know, because we value your time, but also we hope that this is a valuable resource to on everyone's time, we're going to send a really short survey out in July about your experience. We'd love for you to, send us any constructive feedback. We'll compile it and we'll be sharing it out, in some formal and informal ways, because we anticipate that we would offer this kind of program every year. Just because we know there's fluidity with staff changes, and AmeriCorps Seniors is a beautiful program, but as many of you know, you just never can learn all of it quickly. And so we just want to make sure we have this other avenue where folks can have some peer mentoring. And then, of course, as you new folks will move into experienced directors, and experienced directors, you'll continue on. We hope that you all will consider being part of this program in some form or fashion in the future, just to help sustain this and making sure that you're sharing your best practices with others. So that's all the formal stuff I had. I'm going to pause again and see if anybody had any questions or anything that I should clarify before we kind of close things off. No? Just going to pause in case I heard somebody feel like no. Okay. Well, I certainly don't want to take up any more of your time. Like I said, I thank you for being here. We will send a follow-up email on Thursday with resources. Yvonne, I'll email you very shortly. But unless there's any other questions, we wish you all the best in your mentoring conversations, and we can't wait to get your feedback in July. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.